Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the VOD Squad, the show where we talk about streaming technology. This is episode 265, December 15th, 2021. I am Clyde, and today I am joined by Michael Aston.
Howdy, everybody.
And Jimmy Trammell.
Hey, guys.
Matt still has not returned to work.
Yes, he is still out Christmas shopping.
How long does he have to be gone before it's considered dereliction of duty?
Good question.
Probably should make that a very long time considering the habits of some of the team. Otherwise, we'll all be in dereliction pretty quick, except for maybe you, Matt.
Yeah.
Or Clyde, sorry.
Yeah.
And Matt.
Yeah, Matt's pretty good usually, too.
Yeah, me and Mike can't speak too much about it.
Yeah. But we are not derelict in our duties. We are here. Again, it is Wednesday, and we are going to talk about stuff that we talk about every Wednesday. Heavy on the opinion, very light on the journalistic integrity, because we are not journalists. And as I have been accused before, I have no integrity. So, yeah. And let me just, let me warn you guys, if the stream just dies, we're just going to leave it and we're not going to carry on. There's been a crazy storm for the last couple hours and my power's been flickery. So if my power goes out, I will not be back quickly. We'll just call it a night and see everybody next week. But fingers crossed it doesn't happen. It's been a while since we've run into that. But what are we actually here to talk about? Anybody?
Well, I think the most important thing we have to talk about today, at least right at this exact second, is T-Mobile launching its own Google TV dongle that is basically the exact same as the Chromecast plus an Ethernet port.
Okay, so number one, they already launched this device last year. If you remember, they came out with their what was it called? T-Vision last year. And then they got smacked down and they had to cancel everything because they were, it was deemed that they were misusing their licensing or whatever to resell.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the T-Vision hub, which is exactly what they launched last year. The difference is it's a newer version of Android TV that's now being called Google TV. So I don't know. I don't think it's clear if they upgraded any of the hardware or if this is just the same device and they just slapped Android TV 11 version 11 on it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an upgrade over their previous one. It is an upgrade compared to the Chromecast. So like I said, it has the Ethernet port. It also has a slightly upgraded processor that's a little faster and stronger, better chipset. But so that makes me think maybe it's a minor upgrade over what they had a year ago. But
yeah, I don't know, because I don't remember them ever showing us the hardware last year. So I will say that the Ethernet port is the one thing that makes this appealing to me. Otherwise, it's just it's the same as any other Google TV or Android TV with Google TV.
Yeah.
Because
Android TV OS 11, is that the latest?
yeah, or they just released
Yeah.
12. We
Mhm.
talked about that a couple weeks ago, but yes, technically 11 is the newest currently running out there. 12 is the bleeding edge. So, yeah, because that's how this became. That's how this hub from last year became a Google TV and not just Android TV, because Google TV is a function within Android TV that was made public with OS 11. So, yeah, I guess if you're a T-Mobile customer and you want to sign up for new home internet, you'll get this for free.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an appealing little add-on. There's no reason that it would be not of interest to most people, I think. So
Yeah.
Good on them. And I'm with you. I love the addition of the Ethernet port. It doesn't make sense to me to not have it, even though it's like an extra 20 cents for them when they build it.
So, and that has been the complaint of mine for all of the Android TVs I have. I've got the new Android TV with Google TV Sky Ultra Plus thing that came out last year. It doesn't have, it's the, weird deflated breast implant looking thing that doesn't have an Ethernet port. That drives me crazy. I've got two of the TiVo version. Neither one has an Ethernet port. And yes, I know Wabbit will probably chime in and say it is possible, because they do have USB-C for expandability. It is possible to plug in an Ethernet jack, like a USB to Ethernet adapter, but that's more work than it needs to be, because it should just be built in.
I think it's a good device, but still not a fan of the dongles.
I will say though, it can be nice. Here in my office, I've got 3 monitors. One of the monitors, I've got the HDMI port using one of the TiVo 4K streams. And, it's this form factor, and it's actually kind of nice because it's not sitting on my desk. It's plugged into the HDMI port on the back of my monitor, and it's just kind of tucked away. I don't even have to know it's there. I just happen to have a remote sitting here on my desk if I want to use it. But for the most part, if it's in my living room or in my bedroom, someplace where there's actually space, space is a premium. Yeah, I want to. Well, that's why I cling to my Roku Ultras, because they're hardwired with static IPs.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All righty.
All right. So next story. So now you can track Apple AirTags with your Android phone, but there's a catch. And the catch is that you do have to depend on other iPhones to kind of transmit the location of that device, right? So it does work off the network of iPhones, but the good thing about this article is, and I think they pointed out here too, that Apple's starting to make more and more software now for Android, right? So that's I'm glad to see them do that, right? So this is another new app that they have for Android to be able to track the AirTags. Also too, they've got Apple Music for Android, Apple TV Plus also for Android.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're starting to do more there. So I kind of like that.
So this is, anytime an Apple tool becomes available on Android, that is actually fairly newsworthy, just because Apple is so reluctant to release their tools. We'll use as a general term on that platform. The first place when I read this, the first place my mind went is to a story I read, I think about a week ago, that apparently Apple has been facilitating car theft, and they've been making car theft easier because someone can take a tag, one of these tags, attach it to your car, and they don't have to try and steal it in the public place. They'll just follow the tag to your house and take it at night while everyone's asleep.
See, now I do the inverse of that. I actually keep a AirTag in my car in case somebody steals it.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to track.
But I mean, they've been doing this is a thing that has become very popular in the last year, where they'll go out, they'll find a super nice car, something that they want, and then they'll hide one of these tags on the car someplace, like stick it in the gas cap or in, places that are easily accessible that you as the driver aren't going to notice it. And then,
there is a feature on your iPhone, and I would assume with the Android too, now that it has this app, right? That if there is an AirTag in proximity to you, it gives you a notification.
Yeah, right? I don't think that works on the Android, because the Android says that this app only works while it's open. You don't get the alerts like you would with.
Yeah, and that's probably true. You'd have to have it turned on, or have like the background refresh, turned on the app or something like that, right? But to where on an iPhone you would get notified. It would just pop up in your notification, say, hey, there's. And the reason why Apple does that is because, well, somebody might have a lost item, right? That kind of thing, right? But so I guess it works pretty good as long as they're not an iPhone user that you're trying to steal.
Yeah. The story says it's specifically it lacks auto scan, which means you need to specifically fire up the app to search for a tag, and you won't get notifications about lost tags nearby like you would on an iPhone. So, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, speaking about lost things that you'll never find, where are your Google Glasses? Well, that's kind of a trick question, right? Because nobody actually ever had any Google Glasses.
That's not true. I did see a few in the wild. I did see a few glass holes in the wild.
Yeah. We had a pair at USAA that the company bought to experiment with when they first came out, but I don't recall ever seeing anybody actually using them outside of that experimental context.
Well,
That said, it is not too late for you to possibly get Google Glass, because Google is rebuilding their augmented reality team. They hired a high-profile individual from Facebook, or rather Meta, and who was a major player in the Oculus team there doing VR. And he has now been placed as the senior director of engineering over AR operating systems, and is actively hiring for a pretty significant crew of developers, it looks like.
Are you going to apply?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
probably not. I'm guessing that this would be a on location in
you never know.
Redmond or whatever.
They're in
Redwood
San Francisco,
City,
right?
Something South San Francisco, Silicon Valley. So that's not a place that I'm interested in moving to. So probably not. But it is kind of interesting to see that they are working on augmented reality again. It sounds from their perspective, what they're saying is that they felt like they were a little bit too early back in 2013 when they released those, but seeing the HoloLens and Snapchat spectacles going on, and people just being slightly more comfortable being monitored and observed at all times. The idea of people walking around with recording devices pointed at you and at everybody all the time is apparently becoming more palatable to people.
Yeah. So while it is notable that Google is resurrecting a older project, which isn't something they usually do. Usually they kill something, it's gone, right? That doesn't mean that they're bringing back Google Glass. They're just working on AR again. And so whatever the product is going to be is to be seen.
It seems pretty evident based on what's been said that they will be including some sort of hardware in this plan. But yeah, it may be a completely different.
I'm hoping they give us a monocle.
Google monocle.
Yeah, a monocle would be cool.
Well, I mean,
the thing is, Glass wasn't that far off of being a monocle.
Well, it was you could not look cool with that. There was no way. There was no way to look cool with
it was like
that
this
weird frame.
set of glasses that only had a lens on one side. And
well, it didn't even have a lens on one side. It just had the camera on one side. Yeah, it was just a frame.
It had like a little piece of plastic.
Oh yeah, it had the like little visor thingy, but yeah.
So yeah, it was.
See, I want the Morpheus glasses without the arms, right? Just the two lenses.
The Ben Franklin spectacles.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Google Glass was that, and like, if you compare what it did compared to what like the HoloLens does, it's a night and day difference. The HoloLens has a pretty significant field of view, and gives you effectively the ability to do a full overlay over your entire field of view. So I think we'll probably be seeing something in between what they had in the initial Google Glass and like Microsoft's HoloLens, which isn't practical to wear on a regular basis, right? So we'll see. Obviously, it's 100% speculation now because we haven't even had hardware announcements, let alone details about it. But it's exciting.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So next story, AT&T. They're raising prices. So they're increasing the price of their DirecTV streaming price again, and including for legacy subscribers as well. So prices going up on everybody.
Yeah. Hey, that service that nobody's using, it's getting more expensive because nobody's using it.
Yeah.
They have less people to spread the cost across.
and they can't cancel it because there are actively people using it. So if you have to raise the price high enough that everybody quits, and then you can be like, oh, well, we tried, but nobody wants to use it, so we're just going to shut it down. That I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the prices, I mean, the prices were high already, right? Yeah, like the choice plan, it was already $85 a month. Now they're increasing it to $90.
Yeah.
Right. And the ultimate plan was already $95, and now it's going to $105. And then their premier plan, which is the highest tier that they have, was going from $140, which it's like cable.
No, this is literally cable.
Yeah, and then that one's going up to 150.
Sorry, this is the over-the-top version of DirecTV. Is literally what it is. So, because they moved everything back to the DirecTV branding. So this service was to bring parity between streaming and the satellite business. It's
It's
never been a good.
outrageously expensive, in my opinion. I mean, this is the price. These are the prices that compelled me to stop having cable in the first place, right?
Mhm.
I opted to go to sporadically having Hulu TV or YouTube during like the prime football season, and not having and using things like purchasing my shows and movies and watching stuff on Netflix and Amazon Prime, because these prices in the 90 to 100 plus
Mhm.
dollar range were higher than I could justify. I wasn't getting that much entertainment out of it, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Now we're seeing Hulu eking up there. Hulu's at $75 a month.
Or Hulu
Now
Live.
this is what?
Hulu
Hulu
Live.
Live.
Hulu Live. Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
meant. Sorry. Yeah, Hulu Live's like $75 a month. This is $90 a month. I wouldn't be surprised if we see YouTube pop up.
And that's just the little package is
Yeah.
$90.
right for the base.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. I mean, I guess the question that I have is, if you have the option of having cable TV through a standard cable line to your house and your internet separate, would that be better to you than having them in one, only on one pipeline? And see, for me, when my internet goes down right now, I obviously don't have any of my cable service or my TV services, because they're all on the internet. It used to be pretty regular that, like, if the internet went down, I could still at least use cable TV. So it seems like, to me, it's almost becoming more compelling to go back the other way, or, like I said, just not having anything at all.
But you could also make the argument that the days of internet going down as a regularity are gone. I can count
Speak for yourself.
for most people and most services. I mean, as much as I complain about Mediacom, I think I can count on one hand how many times I've lost internet over the last year.
I think I can count on one hand the number of weeks that I haven't lost internet.
and like I said, for most people, that is not the current reality. Some people, some markets, yeah, you still have them. It's still bad.
Yeah.
But I want to point out, I was a subscriber to DirecTV Now when they first launched it, because as an AT&T customer, I got it for like $15, I think it was. Or it was like $10 or $15. And when it went up to $20 or above $20, I canceled fast. Yeah, there's no way I'm ever going back to it with the new prices. And this is after it went from DirecTV Now to AT&T Now, or it was DirecTV to AT&T TV, or no, it was AT&T Now, then it became AT&T TV plus AT&T Now, and then back to DirecTV. Yeah, I don't know, but no, this is terrible.
Yeah, my opinion, don't go for this. If you want TV like service, get Philo for $25 a month, unlimited DVR. And Mike, if your internet goes out, then you have your mobile phone, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I kind of glossed over that point, that I always, usually what we do is we hotspot to it for our TV or something like that, or we just watch stuff on our phones. I mean, honestly, my internet doesn't normally go out that much. It's usually more in the neighborhood of like 20 or 30 minutes, but it's frequently enough that it annoys the crap out of me. Because
you might want to look into Starlink.
Point, it shouldn't be like this at this point in time.
Yeah,
we just have a particularly bad neighborhood that.
Yeah, you might want to look into Starlink.
Yeah,
or sorry, Skynet.
Skynet, yeah.
Embrace the Skynet. Speaking of Skynet,
talking about the Androids taking over, right?
yeah.
Android Go edition will make cheap phones faster and more efficient. So, I mean, I know we've talked at least briefly about the Go edition in the past, but I had totally
we
forgotten
haven't.
about it. Haven't
I don't
we?
think we've ever
I thought
talked
we
about
did.
it.
But yeah, like I was like, I don't remember this. And it's so it's been out for at least a year, according to this, but it's generally reserved for less expensive phones. And what really stands out to me is the significant performance improvements that they're getting on those lower price phones.
Yep.
They apparently got a 20% jump when they did 11 and now an additional 30%. So that's pretty huge. I know for a while we were buying my daughter less expensive Android phones. And I don't know if they had the Go edition on them, but I do know that that they did not perform particularly well. Like they were pretty limited. And so
and that is the reason for this, because it's become a problem as Android progresses. You add more features, it requires more sophisticated hardware, which you typically only find in the flagship phones. And if you're not willing to pay $800 to $1,000, like me, I bought that $1,000 phone and it lasted me 3 months before it died. And LG basically said, we're out of the phone business now. We don't care. So it's sitting in a box. I'm out $1,000. But no, this is cool because I mean, a lot of the phones that they have kind of piqued my interest have been the lower spec phones. Some of the TCLs, some of the Motorola's, stuff that, I mean, it's fine. Or even like an older phone, like this LG here is like 4 years old. I still use it on a regular basis. I went back to it when my when that new phone died, and I don't think this would be able to go to 12, because even though it's still a great phone, it's still good hardware. It doesn't have the specs to support 12, but I bet 12 Go would run on it pretty well. So light edition.
It'd be interesting if we saw them make it available in such a way that you could add it to like your old LG G4 or G5 or whatever. Basically resurrect your old devices.
And there's some features on here that I thought were actually kind of compelling. Like one of them is the ability to open a temporary guest account directly from the lock screen.
Yeah.
Which is something I've wanted forever, because what happens in the scenario where law enforcement demands you unlock your phone? Do you want to unlock your actual profile that has all the stuff that may be incriminating? Or do you want to unlock into another profile that looks like the main one that doesn't have any of the incriminating stuff? I'd say probably option 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Like, I think that it would be cool to be able to dual profile your phone. And that sounds,
I mean, you've been able to do that for a long time. Because I know when my kids first when they got their first Android phones, we set up accounts. There was a parent account and then the kid account, and they used the kid account, and the parent account could go in and set rules to but it's never been smooth. It's always been kind of kludgy to switch, because realistically, multiple people aren't going to be using the same phone.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a desktop computer. But
for law enforcement, you should just have a self-destruct profile.
Well, once they don't find anything and they have to let you go, you want to still be able to use your phone. And also self-destruct, that pretty much like tips the hat that, yeah, you were trying to hide something.
Yeah.
And then they
prove it.
dig harder.
Yeah,
wrong
prove
pin
it.
number, wrong pin number 4 times or 5 times or 10 times, right?
Yep.
I mean, but yeah. All right. I was about to take a detour. Let's not. Let's talk about.
Yeah, I think I'm up next here. Appreciate you scooping up the story that I skipped over.
Don't tell anybody how the sausage is made.
Yeah, nobody had no.
All right, next story. YouTube warns that it may lose Disney-owned channels amid contract dispute. Man, it seems like every other week that YouTube's in.
It's YouTube right? Picking fights is what it is. YouTube just got back. They just got back on the Roku, and now they are risking the loss of something from their platform. And at first you think, oh, the Disney Channel, but then you remember Disney owns ABC, owns ESPN, owns like all kinds of stuff that, yeah. I mean, how many people, if YouTube loses ESPN, how many people are going to stop paying for YouTube? Because a majority of people sign up for YouTube TV for the sports.
Right.
And yeah. I find it interesting. To me, I feel like maybe YouTube just doesn't feel right if it's not against the ropes. Just needs to find itself backed into a corner again.
I'm pretty sure they're just out there picking fights for the sake of picking fights to see if they can get better deals. Because worst comes to worst, there's some sort of negotiation, and so that both sides are happy.
Honestly, the truth is, I feel like this is probably exactly how everything has always been. It's just now that these companies are airing it more publicly.
Yep.
So that people that are invested in one side can put their pressure a little bit more publicly. They're socializing the contract negotiations that used to be, backroom deals. It's just like, hey, we need to create a Twitter for contract disputes, because that's what this is all about. It's just socializing.
They just need to take this stuff back behind the curtain. Stop airing your dirty laundry. Nobody wants to see your skid marks. That's a show title.
Agreed. Talking about, well, I'm not even going to go there. So left turn here. Tinder is a kind of popular way to meet people, right?
It's the straight version of Grindr.
Yeah. I've never, I'm not in the scene, married, and will never date again. So I'm glad that I don't have to deal with this kind of crap, but I do think this is an interesting new feature coming to Tinder. It's called music mode, that allows you to make a mixtape basically for potential dates. So they can kind of hear about you before they meet you. And and then they can swipe based on your anthem and your tunes. I think that this would be a pretty interesting starting place, because being able to just immediately eliminate the people that are listening to stuff that I can't bear to be around would be pretty cool. And you find the metalhead chicks and stuff.
So I think you just choose one song, and then as you're searching, it creates a mixtape comprised of all the anthems of the people that matched with you.
Okay.
Because it's been forever since I checked out that app. They've always had some sort of Spotify, or I think it was Facebook integration that showed what music you're listening to.
Mhm.
But this is actually creating, so like I assume from based on this explanation, if you log into the app, you click on you just click on the mixtape, and then it starts playing you music. And then when you go, ooh, I really like this song, you can look and say, oh, this is that person.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I mean, the current way, correct me if I'm wrong, is you see a picture of the person and you swipe. So it's purely
so.
based on first physical impression, whereas this lets you realize whether or not there's more to them than just a pretty face, right? I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Well, they had to do something because
glad I'm not having to deal with it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
you going to be trying this out next week, Clyde?
No, that would require downloading the app that hasn't been on my phone in at least 6 years and was only on my phone for a couple days to begin with. I couldn't deal with it then. I definitely couldn't deal with it now.
All right. Good, Jimmy. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. All right. Next story. Paramount Plus adds live streaming channels for Star Trek, Survivor, and more.
So Jimmy is in hog heaven.
Yes, I am. This is a feature that I've often... Now, they've had live streaming on Paramount Plus.
But they didn't have dedicated channels to...
Right.
Yes.
Right. It was live broadcast channels is what it was. This here is going to be more along the style of Pluto TV, if you're familiar with that. 24/7 continuous streaming of content. Looks to be like about 18 channels that they'll have. They'll have like one channel that's focused in on Star Trek. They'll have other channels that'll be, based on other content. Some of the other content will be like 80s and 90s shows like Cheers, Frasier, Wings.
I see in the list it's got one that's called Black Voices, and I assume that's going to be all the old UPN programming, like the PJs and Moesha and the Wayans. Which not a bad thing. I wouldn't mind watching some of the Wayans. That was I enjoyed that show.
Yeah, that was a good show. I liked that one. But it's makes sense to me. And
what is that adult one? It says adult, but then it says Celebrity Deathmatch, which was an MTV show. Or was that Comedy Central? I think it was MTV.
I knew it was MTV.
Yeah, I think it was.
You're right.
Yeah. MTV or Comedy Central.
Well, that makes sense because apparently MTV is the production company for Yellowstone, which I find weird every time I watch the new episode of Yellowstone and it does that MTV intro. It's like, feels bad, but okay.
Yeah, glad to see it come there. I think it's a welcome feature to have.
Yeah. So Jimmy's going to binge on Star Trek, Survivor, and Paw Patrol.
You got it.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about YouTube picking fights and getting all in people's faces and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, YouTube is buddying up with Xfinity. The Xfinity Flex set-top boxes are now going to include YouTube TV along with the already existing Sling TV and Hulu TV Live that are the alternatives to just using Comcast's Xfinity service.
And this is the thing we've talked about before. The fact that apps weren't on there is completely artificial because that box is a Android TV.
Right.
It's just a skinned Android TV. So all of the apps that are already available on the Android TV already work on this device. It's just Comcast has been acting like a gatekeeper, preventing stuff from appearing. So basically, I assume they're running their own custom store, just like Android or Fire TV. Amazon is with the Fire TVs, where it's running on Android, but they're not using the Google store. They're using their own custom store, so they could be the gatekeeper. So
My question about this though is how often are they going to update these things? Are they going to keep these things updated or?
they should. I mean, it should. It should get the base Android updates, which go out on a regular basis. The operating system skin shouldn't have to change at all unless there something majorly changes on the underlying Android. I know, like my TiVo stream, it's a skinned version of Android TV. And so if you go into about this device, there are two different OSs listed. You've got the underlying Android, which is the core, and then you've got the TiVo version that's running on top of it.
So when Android TV 12 is released, they'll be able to update it?
Whenever Comcast says it's okay.
Yeah, see, that's my
that's the thing is, but like the security patches and stuff that come through that aren't major OS releases, those usually come in, and that's the thing that you really care about. The OS releases don't typically give you much other than, the square icons are now rounded. You can now blur the background. It's stuff like that. You don't really typically get major features, but it's when it comes to updates, it's the security patches that you're most concerned about. So yeah, I'm curious to get one of these, but I still believe you have to be a Xfinity customer. So yeah.
I'm not that curious.
I'm not either. Well, I would be, but I can't get Comcast here. So
I wasn't a fan of Comcast when I had them. However, I will say I had less problems with Comcast than I have with the options in my area.
And for the record, and just a reminder for anybody that isn't a long-term listener, I absolutely hate Comcast residential. I really enjoy Comcast business. It is worth the extra money, because you actually have a service level agreement, and they will be out. They make it worth the money. But okay.
All right. Next story coming from Engadget. Sony reportedly planned to bring PlayStation Now to phones. I'm kind of surprised it's not already there. I thought it was.
No, PlayStation Now was the TV thing that they killed like a year ago, almost 2 years ago now. Or no, that was was that PlayStation
that was
Plus?
No,
that was View. I'm thinking of View. Okay.
Oh, and I was conflating this with View.
So PlayStation Now is the thing that we were talking about last week, which was the game streaming.
The game streaming service. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this makes more sense then.
So, I mean, actually, that's a good idea, because the problem with console games is you can't play them on other platforms. And Sony games are never cross-platform. Microsoft and Xbox games have the benefit that that one company makes both OSs, so they can design the cross compatibility in. PlayStation has always had this problem where you can only play it on a Sony device. And if they're going to be streaming it, then that opens it up, and that's good, because there are games that are PlayStation exclusives. And, you know, as much as I like some of those games, I don't like them enough to spend, you know, drop a ton of money on a new console. My PlayStation 4 just sits and collects dust. I haven't turned that thing on in over a year. I'm not going out and buying a PlayStation 5, but I might stream some games if I can do it in a browser.
Sure.
I mean, I've been enjoying Stadia. And I mean, this also backs up when you guys were out a couple weeks ago, I made the point that Stadia or game streaming basically eliminates the need for consoles and crazy, super expensive video cards. Oh, my lights just flickered.
Getting close.
But the more these companies embrace that, like the fact that PlayStation is potentially embracing game streaming to other devices, I think that backs up my my comment from a couple weeks ago. They see the writing on the wall.
Well, you can, speaking about getting a PlayStation 5, the current situation is obviously fraught with peril and battles with bots in order to get the device purchased at a reasonable rate, because people are buying them up using bots to purchase them and reselling them for about twice what their MSRP is. And that's because they can't be manufactured at a rate sufficient to satisfy demand. At least they can't be shipped at that rate. But PlayStation has upped the service set to include IMDb TV as a streaming service on the PlayStation 5. So now you can watch IMDb TV on
IMDb 5. TV. I was just thinking the regular IMDb, because that's what I want on my PlayStation 5, is to be able to look up IMDb
and who's in movies.
Unless they were integrating it into the video, like Amazon's X-Ray, which is IMDb.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would be pretty cool. But IMDb TV is got a pretty decent lineup of older shows.
That's how I watch Columbo.
Yeah, so it's not a bad service if you don't mind commercials. I don't know. Do they have a paid tier?
No. The thing that I find annoying is that IMDb TV is a separate app, but it also appears in Prime.
Right.
And I don't like that.
Yeah, that's where I see it marketed, so that I know that there's good shows on there that I would occasionally want to watch, because I see them there in my Prime profile on my Fire TV. So it's pretty good. I think it's interesting, because what you said earlier, hinting at the possibility that that we don't see long term having consoles as a normal thing, right? I think they're becoming more and more ubiquitous, just like the overpriced video cards. I don't need a crazy expensive card to play a AAA title on Stadia. Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I've always been kind of against, like, I occasionally pick up a console, but I'm not a big console gamer, just because I've always been a fan of the mouse and keyboard approach, and don't like the fact that you buy a device, you spend a pretty significant amount of money, and it is already basically obsolete by the time it's released, let alone if you buy it a year or two down the road. But they do make games for it. They turn out to be pretty comparable from a performance and a visual appeal perspective, simply because it's a closed system, so you can
Yeah.
test and validate it a lot more easily as a game developer. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see everything moving more to the cloud. I think I agree with you. I think that's the future.
To paraphrase that commercial from a decade ago, to the cloud.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if anyone else remembers, but Pepperidge Farm remembers. Crickets.
To the cloud. Well,
what else?
Wasn't that a ripoff of the Honeymooners, To the Moon?
No, this one was he wasn't threatening someone.
Oh, okay.
He was saying, "Hey, everybody, let's go.
Okay.
Follow me," basically. Okay.
Robin to the bedpoles.
There you go. Similar.
All right.
Don't.
Next story, and our last story of tonight. Polk Audio reveals the first Dolby Atmos bar. This bar called the Sigma S4, and Polk is using their voice adjust tech to make the dialogue clearer. This bar sells for $399, but that's not just the sound bar you get. You also get a wireless subwoofer included in with that package. To me, this looks pretty compelling, right? I mean, you know, for $400, I don't know, maybe to some people, maybe that's high, right? I know there's other sound bars you can get less than that, right? But you don't get the wireless subwoofer with it. And I have to say, Polk is one of the heavy hitters in audio.
I would say this is more compelling than the B&O one that has Verizon built in that we talked about last week or the week before. I'm surprised it took Polk this long to do a Dolby Atmos soundbar, because we've seen these for going on 3, almost 4 years now. Everybody's making them, from the most expensive down to the cheapest of the cheap. But yeah, I mean, $400, that's a fair price if it sounds good.
And you get a subwoofer.
A wireless subwoofer.
I mean, wireless one, yeah.
See, that was my complaint about that Creative soundbar I got last year, was it had a cord, and it's a rather short cord. Otherwise, it would have been great. But yeah, that's
solid.
cool. All right. Well, that brings us to the point in the show where we like to say thank you to the people that make this show possible, that keep us on the air through their monetary generosity. I am talking about the patrons, the people that found something compelling enough in what we do every week to actually shell out their hard-earned dollars. So if you are one of those people, we thank you. You have a special place in our heart, right next to the birdhouse in my soul. If you would like to become a patron, we don't really ask from us. It's patreon.com/the VOD Squad. Every little bit helps. And just a reminder, we may not be a good investment, but we're better than a bad one. All right. Rants, raves.
You go first, Jimmy.
All right. So what I've been watching over the weekend, and even watched an episode 2 last night. So I'm watching the new Marvel show, Hawkeye, right? I think it had been out. I didn't watch it the first week. I think I was probably busy working or doing other things. Didn't have time to watch it. But checked out the first, I think I'm through the first 4 episodes now. The show starts off a little slow. right? Well, not real slow, but you know, you kind of getting introduced into, you know, some of the. I mean, everybody knows Hawkeye, right? And you know,
He's the surgeon that cracks jokes, right?
right.
Does a mean Groucho impression.
Yeah, right. But yeah, not that Hawkeye. Um, uh, but the but everybody knows Hawkeye, you know, from the Marvel movies, you know, and it's that same Hawkeye character there. And but there's, you know, a host of other characters in the show, and so you kind of getting introduced to them. Um, and two, there's a little crossover, you know, with other Marvel movies too that you'll see, and you see it in the fourth episode. As a matter of fact, I won't say exactly what that is, um, but I have to say, yeah, I'm enjoying this one. I like it. I can't wait for the next episode, and I think there is a new episode out now. And yeah, I'll watch this one all the way to the end. So I'm all in on this one.
Cool.
I've been watching Hawkeye myself.
So did he go to Iowa State or Iowa State, or is it University of Iowa? One of them is the Hawkeyes.
I assumed that was your reference, but I haven't.
I don't know which one.
That's the Buckeyes, I think.
No, that's Ohio. Is the Buckeyes? Yeah, Hawkeyes is. I'll figure it out. It's one of the Ohio or one of the Iowa. A lot of people up here are Hawkeye fans.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I am a fan. I'm enjoying it so far. It's pretty good. I think maybe we've only seen the first three. Maybe we've seen episode 4. I don't remember. But they're all very good so far. Also, I've been watching Wheel of Time, keeping up to date on that. Didn't feel like things moved much this most recent episode.
I will say I did find the most recent episode one of the better episodes.
Yeah.
It was kind of a bottle episode.
Yeah.
But it was one of the more compelling episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of one of those where things come back together, right? Like a lot of the characters had gotten separated and they get back together. And so
they have a big magic orgy, and
there was no,
you have to hide your children's eyes.
Less explosions and violence than I usually like in my episodes. I don't know. But yeah, it was okay. I wasn't totally unhappy with it. Just it was a mediocre episode in my book. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I posted in the TV section earlier this week that over the weekend, I finally finished that new Lost in Space show. Because the third and final season came out recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I rejoiced in the fact that the show is finally done. Mainly because by the time third episode or the third season came around, I was watching it out of spite just to get it done. Every episode, I was praying that they would all just die. I think I hated every single character on that show. I just found myself rooting for the robots to annihilate them. The sad thing is, the only character with any redeemable value, the only character worth caring about was Debbie, the chicken. And I'm not kidding. Actually, well, Debbie has a fairly strong. I did a couple internet searches and found Debbie has a pretty solid fan base. But that says a lot about all the people. Every single one of those people just needed to die.
I mean, that helps because I watched like the first 2 episodes like a while back, and I was like, This could be okay. It didn't pull me completely in, but I saw hope in it and was
Yeah.
gonna try to go back to it at some point, but it sounds like I should only do that if I'm sadistic and masochistic.
See, I got halfway through the first season and I gave up. But then after the second season came out, someone said second season's better. So I forced my way through the first season. I got to the second season, and yes, second season was better, but it wasn't great. And that's why by the time I got to the end of season 2, I was just like, yeah, I don't care about any of these people. And I knew that season 3 was going to be the final, so it was like I didn't want to leave it unwatched. I can mark it off as done. But then the way they ended the season or the series opens it up for another series, and it's just like, which I definitely will not watch. Also, I realized because a couple weeks back I talked about the HBO Max show. Aquaman King of Atlantis, and I absolutely love it. It was great. And then I realized, hey, there haven't been any new episodes in a while. It was a 3-episode miniseries. They just made 3 half-hour episodes. They better bring it back with a full season run, because that show was too good to be It was Aquaman King of Atlantis.
Aquaman King of Atlantis.
It has very not great animation quality, but it is very funny. It has kind of an Adventure Time feel to it. I highly recommend it. You don't have to know anything about Aquaman. I think it picks up immediately after the movie in the timeline, because the first episode is the first day that Aquaman takes the throne. That's when the series starts.
Okay.
So if take the underwater people of SpongeBob and mix it with the sensibility of Adventure Time, and you've got kind of, I think that's the best way to describe this show.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. They better make more. I will be very angry because they just wasted perfectly good.
Obviously, even if that was going to happen, you confessed to liking it, so
I know.
Which
means I'm pretty sure it's dead. It's just a mini series, and we'll never see anything else. But on that note, thanks for everybody that is hanging out. Now we're gonna wrap this up. But we will be back next Wednesday. It will, I don't know if we're going to do anything Christmas related. I don't think we typically do, but you never know. Come join us live, 9 p.m. Central, here on YouTube every Wednesday night. Also, audio podcast is available after the fact. I try to get it out there as soon as, try to get it out there by the weekend, but sometimes it doesn't. The free version doesn't. So if you want an audio version and you want it on a regular schedule that you can rely on, become a patron. You get the custom RSS feed, and that one always goes out almost within a couple hours of the show being done. So, and if you're watching this video after the fact and the pre-show and the post-show has been trimmed off, if you want any of the links to any of these stories, right down below in the show notes will be linked. And I think that's it. Oh, yeah, movie party. Don't forget, movie party is this Saturday. We will be watching Christmas Evil and Santa's Sleigh, starring Bill Goldberg as Santa. Yes, that Bill Goldberg. Immediately following the Big Boy J show, Saturday, the 18th. Don't miss it. It's going to be awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Stick around for the post show. Head on over to tvs.showbot.tv and put in your votes. There's like 2 titles there, so there's something to vote on. And we will see you in the post show. Bye.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.